Hello and welcome. This is Dan Olds, and we've got some scores for you. This is the very first score update for the 2025 Winter Classic Invitational Student Cluster Competition. You're going to see the scores, how they did on LinPack and HPCG, but we have a special guest with us, Matt Ziegler from Lenovo, a sponsor this year. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing great, Dan. Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Oh, this will be fun. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, Matt Ziegler, I work at Lenovo in the HPC organization. I'm responsible for, well, in the past, my past 15, 18 years, I was an HPC architect, and then I led our global HPC architect team, doing all the large designs, research. Then I ran the benchmark team, doing all the performance analysis.
Mhm.
Um, Now I own all of our liquid cooling, our Neptune liquid cooling, and how it relates to sustainability in computing.
See, and that is, I like that. So I'm a liquid cooling guy, and I've been calling it out for years. But you're that's your own homegrown bottom-up system too,
Yep.
and that I don't think is really widely known that you do
No,
your own.
that's a good point. No, we actually have all the IP. We do it from, cradle to grave, we kind of call it, where we're doing the IP, we're doing the design. Our legacy in liquid cooling actually comes back from IBM.
Well, yeah, the early their European system where they were melting snow off sidewalks, if I remember right.
Exactly,
Can't
exactly.
I
Back
doesn't And yeah, so the other thing that I do know from talking to some of your folks is that you found a you've been researching the TCO aspects of it, which is what I think customers believe that it's going to be a massive new cost thing, and it's not going to really pay off that much, but it does.
Correct. Yeah, that's a big thing. And the number one thing, and if anybody's interested, I highly recommend just Google AI and sustainability, and you will just
Yeah.
see tons of articles right now about the impact of AI. And it really becomes down to energy efficiency. How are you going to use the energy
Yep.
wisely?
And it gets right back to, I mean, that's been the big hurdle for HPC for the big ones last 15, 20 years. It's now coming to everybody's data center.
Everybody,
Yeah.
you got it.
Yeah. Well, let's drive on and get into these results because I know everybody wants to see some numbers. First of all, real quick, Winter Classic in a nutshell, it exclusively features students from HBCUs and Hispanic serving universities. It's virtual. There's no cost to the students or the schools for any of this. It's also a level playing field that the students are all running on exactly the same hardware. So there's none of this, hey, we brought 12 GPUs, you have three. Wonder who's going to win. Um, it's exactly the same systems, and we have the same mentors teaching the students every week, and they teach them and they let them run on their hardware as well. And this week, first week out, it's the traditional HPL and HPCG, and this is mentored has been mentored by HPE for the last 4 years. And these are kind of the easy first steps, Matt.
Yeah, I was going to make a comment because I think that's really important is that level playing field.
It really
Um,
is.
and the reason now I want to give you kind of an analogy. So like
Hmm.
in NASCAR, they in racing, they basically say, okay, I want to make it so the rules so that everybody has the same tech.
Hmm.
You're basically running this so that the race ends up being who has the most skill
Yeah.
or who has the best crew.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
and that's how I see this going. And I think that's a really important point. So
That's exactly what we're trying to do. It's not more like NASCAR than Formula One.
exactly.
It's more like showroom stock. We're going to go to car racing that identically prepared cars. Let's see what you can do with it as a driver. Um, so HPE put on a lot of training. Problem is that the timing of the competition. I had a choice. I could either go before MLK week or after. I didn't want to go during. And so I went before, and I should have gone after because most of the teams weren't back on campus yet. Their semesters hadn't started until after MLK. So it made it a lot tougher on them, as I think we'll see from some of the scores. So, highlights. We did have the teams get started fairly early, which is good. Because I don't know, you went to college, I'm gonna imagine, Matt, right?
Yeah.
Remember that mindset? Undergrad,
Right.
eh, due on Saturday. Let's start maybe Thursday night or Friday morning or
I'm
Friday
not going to
night.
admit to that.
No, that is my life. But and that's something that has happened. But teams got started right on Tuesday, pretty much, which isn't bad. And the Texas Tech Red Raiders get the informal award for the most jobs on LinPack, 395 versus 96 for the next placing team. It's pretty cool. It does not approach, though, a record set by Florida, FAMU, way back where they had one guy who really knew scripting. He was running 5,000 different permutations. Um, but the rules have tightened up on that a little bit to prevent that much. Channel Islands Nautical Processing ran 518 jobs versus a Red Raiders at 301. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
But let's see if it paid off. We'll see that as we see the numbers. The other thing that happens all the time, Matt, they have two things to do: LinPack, HPCG. What has happened in the past is they get LinPack running, they get LinPack scaling, and then they start to wrap themselves around the axle, making it scale better and better and better, and trying to hit that as close as they could to the theoretical peak. And they forget about HPCG, and then they start on that Saturday. And then they realize, wait a minute, there's more to this than we thought there was going to be.
exactly.
Yeah. Did
Well,
not
and
get,
I'll tell you from
yeah,
experience, you can go down and like you just said, an HPL rabbit hole.
yeah.
There's no end.
No. And it's really the thing I try to get through them is there's as much art as science in it. You can't just say this is too much, that's too little, and let's interpolate in between. It's not that easy, even with just two nodes, right? There's what am I trying to say? Try this a little bit more and that a little bit less, and problem size
So if I
here.
had a strategy on this, Dan, I would
Yeah,
actually go, I'm gonna work on my HPL. I'm
yeah,
gonna get it to a score that, has a good efficiency.
yeah,
Then I'm gonna go work on HPCG, and then when you have time left, you go back.
yeah. That is exactly it. That you get, and actually even more simple, get a score for LinPack.
Exactly.
You get it running on two nodes, lock that score in because you can always add better scores, and then go to work on HPCG, but get a safety score in on both, something, right?
Exactly.
Um, so let's get our first look at the leaderboard. We're looking at all the teams in alphabetic order and the various tasks that they're going to face, and most of it is blank. We know the mentors, but we don't know what they're going to have you do. We don't know what they're going to have you throw at you. Next week is going to be a mentor special that is going to be entitled HPC Crash Course. What does that entail? We'll see. Still a little bit of a mystery. Then we're going to have Oak Ridge, and they'll throw curveballs. They always do. But cool thing, kids are going to be running on Frontier. That,
Oh, that's like if you play hockey, you get to go play in I'm a Colorado Avalanche fan. I live here in Colorado. It's like
mhm.
going
Oak
to
Ridge,
Ball Arena and being able to play on the ice.
yes, yes,
Kind of the way I
exactly.
look at
It's
it.
It's a big deal.
Football
Um,
player, big stadium is
yeah,
that's a
yeah.
big deal. That's a big deal.
It's the Rose Bowl in
Yeah,
college football,
exactly.
right? Um, and uh, I know that they're going to appreciate it, and it's resume worthy, right? I mean
Definitely.
that's a resume entry for a college student looking to get into the industry. So here's how we're going to be scoring stuff. That each of these scorable things has a maximum of 100 points, and the team with the top score, as judged by the mentors, gets 100. Everybody else's score is normalized to that. So essentially a percentage of that those 100 points. Total 700 points are up for grabs. You only see spots for 600 on this chart because the last thing is the mentor interviews. Each team goes in front of a panel of competition mentors and HPC experts and luminaries, and they present what they've done. And they face the questions. Fun. Worth 100 points, though. So let's look at the numbers. Here's the LinPack results. And Matt, this is normal. The teams that did not submit, um, we see this every time. It's just hard to get started. And I don't know, you probably have some LinPack horror stories in your past.
Oh, I wish you wouldn't have said that. Now I'm all of a sudden I'm getting anxiety again.
Yeah, and you know, these systems, using these systems, these aren't schools that have supercomputers on campus for most cases or have ever had access to them. So this whole thing of remote logins and all of that is just it's brand new to them. It's the first time
Right,
they've
right.
done it. Hanging
Here,
up,
let me ask a quick question.
yeah,
Are they compiling their own HPL binaries?
yep. Well, they're not their own, but they do have a choice of compilers.
Well, yeah, but so they're not given a
They're
bind.
no,
Gotcha.
yeah, yeah, no. There's a
Then that'll bring
difference.
more anxiety.
uh,
So,
so anyway, let's take a look. Let's move on up. These guys, keep pushing the do not submit teams. This is part of it starting early, blaming myself for that, but you're learning good stuff, and there's going to be opportunities to catch up. These
still a lot of points
competitions,
out there.
these things change dramatically.
Yep.
So next here on the leaderboard, we've got the teams that turned in, and Lobos had a problem size problem. They weren't using a big enough one. And this team has some experienced players on it, so I'm sort of surprised, unless they were time constrained or something, which is very possible with what was going on. We move on up though. The Matadors, Texas Tech, pride of Texas Tech, good score, 86% of the top, but only puts them in ninth. So I think that tells us it's pretty top
It's pretty
loaded.
tight. Yeah, it's gonna be
Yeah. Gotta like UC Riverside. This is the first time they've ever been in the competition. I don't know anything about them other than they're in Riverside and in California. But they turn in a good, respectable Lin Pack, and the Santa Cruz Slugs, not so Slugs, experienced team, did a good job too. But you'd think that 90% of the top score would get you a little higher. Same with the
yeah.
Fayetteville team and the other or the Channel Islands nautical processing. So let's see what we have at the top. Here we go. Top four. Fayetteville Broncos, nicely done. 94 points out of this, but look at that efficiency. And I believe that is compared versus our max, not our peak, because no one's getting 90 over 90% of our peak, even the pros, right?
Right. And this is actually a controversial thing going forward now that we got
Oh,
GPU.
really?
Well, there's different ways that you count AVX and different.
Oh,
So
okay,
these
okay.
efficiencies are actually pretty good from a traditional look at it. Really good. Really good.
Yeah, yeah, I like those. And, going on up the leaderboard, Channel Island, Barracudas, nice. Um, I gotta like that. And you'll notice that, a lot of these schools have two teams. So there's a campus battle. Um, um, and we're going to see some of those battles start to form, like the Red Raiders. Look at that, 99.72 points versus 100 points, this close
That
to.
is like by a hair.
And yeah, the Roadrunners right there in top. This was a new team last year. The Lobos were the team that they've always gone with. um, And the Roadrunners did okay, and they've got at least one holdover member from that team, and nicely done. So we've seen that. Let's take a look at HPCG. Same tough results for the teams that didn't submit on LinPack. Same problems, timing, all that kind of stuff. Semester starting, jobs, new class schedules, all of that. Uh, Including, I know for sure on some of these teams that some of their members were even out of the country and flying in. You're not going to get an awful lot done on a plane. So let's take a look. The guys put this in the rearview mirror and let's drive on. Next tier results, UC Riverside, new team, turns in an HPCG. Good, good, good. Fayetteville, the Matadors from TTU, um, holding their own in there, but there's some much higher scores out there, I think. We got the Lobos and the Roadrunners reasonably close, but the Roadrunners out on top, which is giving them a pretty good lead for campus bragging rights. But let's see what the top of it looks like. Here we go. The Barracudas again and Santa Cruz. Good scores, good scores. Um, and Nautical Processing, good scores. And the Red Raiders on top. What do you think of that?
So, I looked at these and so if you compare the HPL, how tight it got, like you come
Yeah,
in and you're only in ninth place. I think and then you look over here and it
much
only
more
gets
spread out.
a lot more spread out. I think it goes back and it really validates your statement that they probably spent a lot of time on HPL and then scrambled.
The scores are reflecting that, but looking at the job logs from HPE, they were working on HPCG,
Oh,
not
okay.
as much, and I get probably not as early, but there were a lot of jobs that they were running both at the same time. Um, but it tightens way up here, uh, and it's good to see. And Texas Tech Red Raiders, they won the whole thing last year, and it looks like they're coming back strong.
They want to
Uh,
repeat.
they do want to repeat. We haven't had one of those yet, but it's with different students. Interesting thing about both Texas Tech teams, they're coached by a PhD student, Michael Beebe, great guy. He was a competitor in 2022 on one of the Texas Tech teams. And
Yeah, so there's some pride there.
yeah, yeah. Well, the thing I like, he's coaching both teams, and I'm always trying to get him to stir things up between the two teams. And he's starting to embrace that. I said it's the only way you're going to motivate them is versus each other. So good stuff. We've seen the results. Now, for the first time in 2025, let's take a look at the big board.
See it how it
See,
adds up.
see how it adds up. Here we go from 1 to
Hmm.
10. We've got the Lobos bringing up 10th, the new UC Riverside team. That's respectable for a
That's
brand
really
new team. I'm
respectable.
really liking that. Uh, Fayetteville is in there. The Matadors. Hmm. This is going to serve to be motivation for them. Fayetteville coming up in above them in six, which is good. UC Santa Cruz is always a team to keep your eye on. They've got some experience, and I think once they really get focused in, particularly move to the real HPC applications, that's going to be a tough team. But Channel Islands, I've never seen both their teams do this well. This is something. This
Now,
is
there's some
interesting.
there's probably some bragging rights going on that campus.
Yeah, yeah.
You know that is. You know they're
Oh
walking
yeah.
around with t-shirts of their team and they're staring each other down. That's what's going on there.
Yeah, and again, that's something I try and stir up. It's just kind of fun when I do the team interviews. I say, well, I just interviewed the other team, and they were saying that all the weak students tended to gravitate to your team, and that the
You
strong
gotta
ones are
have
on
some
theirs.
trash
I don't know,
talk.
is that true or not? That kind of thing. It's good. It's fun. I got to do something to amuse myself during this, right? Uh, and you know, Red Raiders. That's it's a pretty good number. Out of 200 points, they've got 199.72 of them. That's not bad, but that is not a big gap. Uh, these things can easily swing on every
Yeah,
task.
I think it's pretty tight out of the gate. Anybody's
It
game right.
is. It is. No one's even the teams that didn't submit this next task that's coming up. If they can do well on it, they're right back in the game. No question about it. There's a lot of stuff left to come and a lot more left to learn as well. So good. We've seen the big board. Excellent. We're off
Looks
to a
good,
great
man.
start. It does. It does. So next up, usually it'd be NASA Ames, but due to a scheduling error, my fault, they can't do it this year. So what am I going to do? Am I going to give them the week off? What do you think? Should I give them the week off, Matt?
No, man, we just got started.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. No, there will not be an off week. I've come up with a special challenge for next week. I'm going to brief them about it in a couple of hours today. That's going to teach them more about HPC in a week than they ever thought they could learn. It's called the HPC Crash Course. And then there will be an exam with all sorts of different questions about it. And it's only some modest 17 hours or so of video, which very well done stuff from the Pittsburgh Supercomputing Center. Really good stuff.
That's a good institute. They make good
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
John Urbanic, if you've ever met him,
Hmm.
it's great because
They're
he
good.
goes through not just what to do and how to, but why we do it, why you need something like MPI, why you need, open MPI, that kind of stuff. And this is stuff that's going to really pay off for the students, both in the competition, but more when they're trying to get that first job.
Knowing the
That's
why
big.
you're going to be so far ahead of the game if you know why
Yeah.
you're doing something. I can't stress that enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And the war stories that the kids are going to get out of trying and succeeding or trying and failing on these tasks,
Yep.
it's invaluable. It's so much more than kids who just come out of with classroom experience. What's the toughest thing you've had to do with a system? Well, we were trying to get up on Frontier and trying to get this to compile and run and it didn't, et cetera, versus saying, well, we had a really tough exam in our parallel processing class and a lot of really hard questions. This is
Mhm.
different. It's better. So, in the immediate term, we're going to have mentor interviews with the team from HPE. Now that we've revealed the results, we'll hear the behind the scenes of what happened. And I really got to thank you, Matt, for sitting in on this. This was fun. Hope you
Oh, this has
enjoyed it.
been my pleasure. Thanks, man. Thanks for getting me involved in this. I did this
Yeah,
this would
yeah.
I kind of wish I was doing this back when I
Wouldn't it
was
be
in
fun?
school. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm a little jealous. I'm not gonna lie.
I know. I know. It's fun. You know who at the mentor teams have a lot of fun with this too. They like doing this, which kind of surprised me, but they enjoy it. Um, but I'm really glad when the sponsoring organizations get involved with this. It gives the students, it gives the sponsors, much deeper experience. And it's great to have Lenovo on board. And I might send out some requests for you to be in on some of the student team interviews if you'd be interested.
Absolutely.
Schedules match up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be fun. So, for all of you millions and millions of people out there in the viewing audience, keep up with everything that's going on in the competition. You'll see on the screen all of our social media stuff. Give us a follow. Come on. Got nothing better to do. Just wasting your time on that anyway. Why not follow us just for fun and look at all of this action that we have coming up in the next several weeks? Also, you can keep up on our website and through our official media partner, HPC Wire. So stay tuned. We're just getting started. There you